So we spent some time earlier in the show talking about the Middle East tensions and so on. And really the headline picture, the perception that people might have is that investment in the kingdom could be weak, lower oil prices and budget deficits through 2026. But what is the reality in terms of growth prospects in the kingdom as you see?
Thank you for having me today on the show, Sherry. And I think this is a very important question. And it's really important to dissect what has been driving non-oil growth in the kingdom. We've seen non-oil growth proving to be robust and resilient since the recovery from the COVID pandemic, but even the structural expansion that we've seen in Saudi, where the non-oil economy today in Saudi is about 20% larger than its pre-pandemic base. So that has been driven by a confluence of factors. Definitely consumption is one engine of growth that has driven this recovery since COVID and after. The reforms, the latest of which, as you mentioned, is the updated investment law, have played a key role in the structural expansion, but also investment. And investment is characterized or divided into several categories. There's FDI, there's the public investment, both from a budget government capital expenditure, but also the investments that PIF have done in the economy since the COVID pandemic and that have really driven growth. So it's a confluence of factors that drive growth. There isn't one single reform that gets the credit for the structural expansion, but we are quite constructive on the economic transformation.
So what was the key element in this updated investment law that stood out to you, really making things easier for potential investors looking at the kingdom for potential investment ideas?
The key feature of the last updated investment law, in our view, is the scope. So the last update to the investment law broadens the scope to bring in foreign investors and domestic investors together under the umbrella of the updated investment law. So in a sense, leveling the legal playing field for both foreign investors and domestic investors. So that, I think, was a key interesting feature of this last reform. And this is why it got a lot of attention with regards to potentially driving FDI higher. But in our view, it remains the totality of reforms that the kingdom has implemented since going back to the 2014 oil price shock. So it's not even a story of a post-COVID recovery and post-COVID reforms. The kingdom has been on this reform journey for about 10 years now. And it's the sum of all of the choices, all of the reforms that have been implemented since that, in our view, will allow and enable the kingdom to achieve its FDI targets for 2024 and then continue rising, seeing higher investment, whether it's from FDI, whether it's from private sector investment, or even public capex.